Hello Army, welcome back to my channel, and today we are answering a question that has been asked repeatedly across social media for years and that the Ararang comeback era has brought back to the surface with more force and more evidence than ever before. The question is this: why, after more than a decade in the K-pop industry, with generation after generation of new idols emerging, debuting, trending, and reaching enormous levels of global popularity, does the title King of the Stage continue to belong to Jimin? Not as a fan designation, not as a social media poll result, but as a conclusion reached independently by Korean media, international media, professional choreographers, vocal experts, and the audiences who have watched thousands of different performers across every generation of K-pop. Today we are going to answer that question completely and seriously, from his training background in Busan, through his solo-era achievements, all the way to the specific moments at the Gwangwamun Comeback Live concert on March 21, 2026, where Korean media wrote an article titled BTSJimin, The Return of the Stage King, and where 18.4 million viewers around the world watched live and understood immediately why the title has never moved. Let's get into it. To understand why Jimin is still the king of the stage in 2026, you first need to understand what makes the title meaningful in the specific context of K-pop, because king of the stage is not a compliment that gets given casually. In the Korean entertainment industry, where performance standards are among the highest in the world and where idols train for years before debuting specifically to develop the technical capabilities that make live performance excellent, the phrase stage king or stage master refers to someone whose presence on a performance platform transcends the technical. It is not just about dancing correctly or singing accurately. It is about the specific quality that makes a live performance feel like an event rather than an execution, the ability to fill a space with intention, to make every person watching feel like the performance is happening specifically for them, to make the energy of a live room or a broadcast screen feel elevated and charged in a way that only that particular person can produce. And that quality, which Korean media has consistently attributed to Jimin throughout his career, is not something that can be manufactured through training alone, though training is its foundation. It is the product of everything a performer is, brought into a single moment of live expression. Jimin's foundation in performance began before BTS, before big hit entertainment, before any of the industry machinery that eventually placed him on the biggest stages in the world. He entered Busan High School of Arts as the top student in the contemporary dance department. His teacher, Mr. Lee Hwa-sung, described him as someone who was excellent in both his studies and his dancing, as someone who, in the classroom and hallways, did not always display his abilities conspicuously, but who, the moment he entered the practice studio, practiced more than anyone else. He loved listening to music, and whenever music played, he wanted to express something through it. That specific quality, the desire not just to execute movement but to express through it, to let the music inhabit the body and come out as something that goes beyond choreography, is the earliest and most fundamental description of what would eventually be called Jimin's king of the stage quality. Before he had a stage. Before he had an audience. Before he had a title. He was already doing the thing that the title would eventually be given to name. His teacher initially opposed Jimin's decision to pursue idol training rather than professional contemporary dance, describing the loss of a genius. He told Jimin that the audition for Bang Si-hyuk at Big Hit would be his last chance, that after it, he would need to choose his path definitively. And Jimin walked into that audition and was the only person out of thousands who passed. The only one. That moment, being selected from a field of thousands, in an industry designed to filter out everyone who was merely excellent and keep only those who are extraordinary, established the specific trajectory that has brought Jimin to where he is now. He is not the king of the stage because he was always the most famous or the most commercially successful performer in K-pop. He is the king of the stage because the people who are most qualified to recognize genuine performing talent, the teacher who called him a genius, the Bang Si-hyuk who passed only him out of thousands, the Korean media outlets that have watched him for over a decade, have consistently arrived at the same conclusion. Jimin is a self-described perfectionist. He said so directly in the BTS documentary Burn the Stage, where he acknowledged that even the smallest mistakes on stage make him feel guilty and cause him stress. And the relationship between his perfectionism and his king of the stage quality is not incidental, it is structural. Because perfectionism in the context of live performance is a double-edged quality. In a performer who is primarily technical, perfectionism produces precision but can also produce stiffness, the sense that every moment is being managed rather than lived. But in a performer who has the kind of expressive instinct that Jimin's teacher recognized in the practice studio, perfectionism produces something different. It produces the combination of absolute technical security and complete emotional freedom that is the defining characteristic of the best live performers in the world. When you know the technique so completely that you no longer have to consciously think about it, the conscious part of you is free to do something more important: be present. Feel the music. Connect with the audience. Jimin's perfectionism built the technical floor that allows his expressiveness to operate at maximum height without risk of structural failure. That is the architecture of the king of the stage. The solo era that Jimin completed before the Ararang comeback is also essential context for understanding why his return to the stage in 2026 carried the specific weight it did. His solo album Face, released in 2023, produced like crazy, the first song by a Korean solo artist to debut at #1 on the US Billboard Hot 100. Not the first K-pop song by a solo artist to reach #1. The first song by a Korean solo artist, period. In the history of Korean popular music, no individual had ever opened at that position until ParkJimin did it with a song that begins with vulnerability and ends with the specific kind of defiance that comes from someone who has decided to be exactly who they are without apology. His solo album debuted at #2 on the Billboard 200. His song Who, released in 2024, became the first Asian solo hit to reach 2.3 billion streams without a featured artist, spending 33 weeks on the Billboard Hot 100, the longest run for a K-pop male solo track. These are not supporting credentials for the king of the stage designation. They are the commercial and cultural evidence of what happens when the thing that Jimin does on a stage reaches millions of people who may be encountering him for the first time. Then came March 21, 2026. The BTS comeback live at Gwanghwamun Square. Star News Korea published an article titled BTSJimin, The Return of the Stage King. The article specifically described how Jimin captivated the audience with his overwhelming presence on the comeback stage for the first time in more than 3 years. And the specific details of what he wore and how he appeared tell you everything about how consciously and precisely he understood the specific weight of this moment. Jimin wore long-haired blonde hair and a black tweed jacket, matching short bags and wide pants reminiscent of hanbok, completing an original styling in which tradition and modernity coexist. The hanbok reminiscent wide pants. The blonde hair. The tweed jacket. In a concert held at Gwanghwamun, the gate to the royal palace of the Joseon dynasty, a site of 6 centuries of Korean history and national identity, Jimin chose a styling that positioned him explicitly at the intersection of what Korean culture has been and what it is now. He did not just show up to perform. He showed up as a statement. And the stage he occupied already contained 600 years of the country that made him. The styling was the first act of the performance. Netflix Tudum described Jimin's position in the concert. "We are finally here, and we are seeing you again," main dancer Jimin told the crowd. "The fact that I am speaking here, I am so moved. All 7 of us standing on stage together makes me so happy. Thank you all so much. You have filled Gwanghwamun Square today." The specific phrase to pay attention to in that statement is, "the fact that I am speaking here." Not "I am so happy to be back," the generic language of any returning performer. The fact that I am speaking here. The fact. The specific, almost disbelieving acknowledgement of where exactly he was standing and what it meant for him to be there and alive and present and speaking. That awareness of the historical weight of the location, of the accumulated meaning of the moment, of the extraordinary convergence of everything that led to that specific second on that specific stage, is the awareness that a king of the stage performer brings to every moment of a live performance. Nothing is generic. Everything is specific. This place, this moment, these people, this night. And that specificity is what the audience feels even when they cannot articulate why. International media also noticed. The viewer's perspective, reviewing the Netflix broadcast, noted that 50 dancers performed in formation on the upper platform of Gyeongbokgung Palace before splitting apart to create a path for the group's entrance. And when Jimin emerged from that entrance and took his position on the stage, with his hanbok-inflected outfit and his golden hair and his ability to make every eye in the room travel to him without doing anything that would conventionally be called attention-seeking, the combination of all the elements that the king of the stage designation is built upon became visible simultaneously. The technical mastery. The expressive freedom. The physical control. The emotional availability. The specific awareness of where he was and what it meant. And the voice that a four-time Guinness World Record vocal coach would later describe as containing two distinct singers in one person, the voice that a former BTS producer described as the best singing voice in the group, the voice that fans said was better live than the studio version. All of it, live, in front of 260,000 people and 18.4 million Netflix viewers simultaneously. That is the return of the Stage King. The broader point that Korean media makes when they use the title King of the Stage for Jimin in 2026 is not simply that he is good at performing. It is that his quality of stage presence has proven durable in a way that almost nothing in the K-pop industry is designed to be durable. K-pop, by its structural design, is an industry of cycles. Groups debut, rise, achieve a peak of cultural saturation, and then make way for the next generation. Trends shift. Aesthetics evolve. The idols who dominated the conversation in 2016 are not necessarily the idols who dominated in 2021, and those idols are not necessarily the same ones who dominate in 2026. That is how the industry functions. And within that structure of constant renewal, certain qualities that depend entirely on freshness, visual novelty, trending sound, the specific kind of excitement that comes from encountering something for the first time, inevitably diminish as the cycles turn. But the quality that Jimin has, the stage presence that Korean media designates as King of the Stage, does not depend on freshness. It does not depend on being new. It does not depend on the trend being favorable. It depends on the combination of technical depth and human authenticity that Jimin has been building since he was a teenager in a practice studio in Busan who practiced more than anyone else. The K-News article that described Jimin as King of the Stage and noted that his stage performances have become the standard for new idol generations makes a specific observation that is worth naming clearly. It says that as many idols have grown up and shifted from one trend to another, from Gen 3 to Gen 4 to Gen 5, not one has displaced Jimin's position with their stage performance. That is the most precise articulation of what the title actually means. It is not that no other idol is excellent. The current generations of K-pop include extraordinary performers by any reasonable standard. The point is that Jimin occupies a position that is not a ranking in the conventional sense, it is a reference point. When choreographers and stage directors in the K-pop industry want to describe what they are aiming for, when young idols talk about whose stage presence they study, when Korean media evaluates a performance and reaches for the language of mastery and artistry, the name they consistently arrive at is Jimin. He is not competing for the title. He is the definition around which the title is organized. And in 2026, after military service that he completed alongside Jungkook in the Companion program, after a solo era that produced historic chart records, after returning to the Gwangwamun stage with a styling that honored Korean tradition and a speech that acknowledged the weight of the moment with a specificity and emotional intelligence that moved everyone who heard it, after all of that, Korean media looked at Jimin on that stage and wrote the return of the Stage King. Not the emergence. Not the introduction. The return. Because the title was never gone. It was waiting, as the most enduring things wait, with patience, with certainty, with the knowledge that what genuinely belongs to someone always comes back to them. The Arirang World Tour has now begun. Jimin is performing in Goyang, in Tokyo, across North America, through Europe, into Latin America, in 34 cities in 23 countries over the next 12 months. Night after night, on stages that seat tens of thousands of people who have waited years for this exact moment. And every night, when the lights go up and the music starts and ParkJimin walks to the place on that stage that has always been his, the audiences in those arenas, people who have been following him for a decade and people who are encountering him for the first time, are going to understand immediately and viscerally and completely why the title has never moved. Some things, in the constant flux of popular culture, stay fixed. Not because they refuse to change, but because they are genuinely what they are. Jimin is the king of the stage. Korean media has been saying so for years. The Gwangwamun concert said it again to 18 million people. And starting from April 9th, he has been saying it himself, on stages around the world, every single night. Hello Army, thank you so much for watching this all the way to the end. If this video gave you a new and deeper understanding of why Jimin's stage presence is in a category of its own, please hit that like button because it genuinely helps this channel reach more people who care about this. Subscribe if you are not already here. We are going to be covering every night of the world tour. Hit the bell so you never miss anything. And drop a comment below. What is your single most memorable Jimin on stage moment? I want to know every single one. I will see you in the next one. Bye, Army.